Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching the YouTube video. This is Glenn, the host with Managing with Common Sense, or with my YouTube channel, Bring Your Brain to Work. I have a great guest today, and our guest today is Nima Schei. He is the CEO, founder, and pretty much everything of Hummingbirds AI, and he has a product called Guacamole that he will talk about. Niem, thank you to the pod. Welcome to the pod. And thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. Hey, tell us a little about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks, Glenn, for having me. I'm Nima Schei, and I'm not everything about hummingbirds. I'm just like a small portion of the team. But I'm the CEO and founder. Hummingbirds AI is an AI company, computer vision company. But talking about my background, so let's introduce myself first. So Nima Schei, by background, I'm a medical doctor who was always looking into bigger challenges in life, solving bigger problems. And that was the reason that I really didn't practice medicine. After graduation, I was transitioning into becoming an entrepreneur. And my passion was always finding the biggest challenges that I find around me and then trying to solve them through technology mainly. And a few years ago, I found a big challenge, which is deepfake and a problem of authentication, which was becoming my passion for the last couple of years in order to be able to solve that problem for our society. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So did you ever thought your younger years that you would ever be in where you are today?
Yeah.
So your passion was to develop something when you're probably like in middle school. You're like, I want to change the world.
Yeah. So in middle school, I was very passionate about like physics, and back then I didn't know anything about AI, but something about intelligence and something about like higher intelligence was always making me curious to know what we can create that is more intelligent than ours. So back then, I was creating a prototype of self-driving truck without any much equipment, and using like my toys and then a few sensors that my uncle gave me in order to create a smart machines that can follow the road, the path.
Yeah.
And that was like in middle school, and then later was trying to see if we can create like infinite sources of energy. Which later on I was doing like projects in biogas. So always thinking about what are the challenges that I'm seeing in front of me, and then try to solve them through innovation.
Wow. So you always, when you're little, you always had that entrepreneurial mindset, and you always like to be challenged. And that's a rarity for some people who, I don't know, maybe it's not a rarity, or it is, that some people just love to be challenged and just take on new things. And is it safe to say, Liam, that being uncomfortable to get comfortable, being uncomfortable is something you like to do, is being uncomfortable in situations because you're just trying to learn new things and improve on them?
That's a very good point. It is, in fact, somehow true, because my wife and I became like digital nomads in 2013, 2014. So we decided to leave our house and then go explore the world, which that comes with a lot of not being comfortable. You see, my dogs are browsing around me. So we were traveling the world with like 2 dogs, which is really uncomfortable, like traveling to Europe, South America, all these countries. Living in Airbnb without having like the knowledge that tomorrow where you are going to stay, next month where you would stay. So that level of not knowing the future creates the passion to always look for like new ideas, new people around you, and that's something that really helped us in order to see other ideas, other people, other environment, and get better through our journeys. So yeah, that being discomfortable is always helpful in order to get one step ahead.
Yeah. So with your traveling, and you're introducing your products and everything else, and it is AI. Where do you see AI going from here? I mean, I mean, technology is moving so fast. How fast is AI moving now, and what's the future like for it?
It will move much faster than what it's moving now. It's moving fast now, but it's going to that level of growth will accelerate soon. So at some point we will see that we as human, we cannot catch up with AI. So just giving you an example. So 20 years ago, like Watson versus Garry Kasparov, like those chess games, they were like kind of like equal. So sometimes humans were winning, sometimes AI was winning. But at some point, it was very hard for humans to catch up. And then I bet you there is not any human that nowadays can beat Watson or other supercomputers. And we don't even think about or have those conversations anymore. At some point, our self-driving cars will be smarter than us. At some point, our AI doctors will be smarter than our doctors. So we will reach to a point of exponential growth that AI will be so much developing faster and progressing faster that for humans it will be very hard to be able to match that speed.
So you're saying that I love that great example of you using that chess game versus Watson. Now, it made me think when you say that. I remember just watching the news, or just, they're filming it on PBS, because it's, that's where chess games would only go to, is PBS, because it's boring. And they always they're like, there's no way a computer could beat us. Right. I remember those days. I've been watching those videos, and then the humans would actually beat the computer. And then there was a big shift where a computer would they finally knew what to do if that person made a move and made all the algorithm possibilities of how to win. Mm-hmm. But it took a while for humans to adopt it and to accept it, that I finally lost. So with AI and technology, with what you're doing with your product, let's talk about your product a little more. What's the adoption rate now and acceptance versus what it was in the past? And I feel like some people are still stuck in that world, like, oh, humans still need to do the work. There'll be a day where you'll go to McDonald's and that thing on the fryer or making that burger will be an AI system. Yeah. So, yeah. Are people starting to adopt it better now, or to accept it? So
it's the question that I always refer to, like the past, like 100 years ago in New York City. Imagine the roads were covered by horses and horse riders, right? So if in those days you would say to a horse rider that okay, there wouldn't be, your job will be gone, they wouldn't accept your statement. And nowadays it's the same with like truck drivers. So I would say 20 years from now, it will be very rare to see like human truck drivers, or there might be some other roles for the truck drivers, but they don't necessarily operate the vehicle anymore. So it's not a question that are we open to do the acceptance or not, because it's not going to be in our hands anymore. Think about like factory workers. Are we seeing factory workers like human factory workers anymore? Slightly, yes, but maybe not anymore in like 10 years from now. So humans can do objection and like reduce the speed of technological adoption, but at the end of the day, because of the cost and a variety of reasons, technology will win because it's more cost efficient. It's more, it has like less safety concerns, less accidents. So at the end of the day, if you are a business operator, you would see that what would be the benefits of having that technology versus staying with like the old technologies, and then that would be your answer. If you want to adopt the change and you get progress, or you would want to oppose the technology, and then you might your market will shrink and shrink until a point that you would be gone.
Yeah, and I think that's the scary that everyone's worried about, right? Is the point where if things are more automated, what are left with humans to do? And some of the older humans, well, that eliminates my job. I remember watching a documentary about a car manufacturing going into somewhere in the Midwest to open up their own factory to do their windshields and stuff, some car building stuff. And they want to do automation, but they're like, no, in the beginning, like we still need human people to do it. But like you said, safety concerns, then, someone gets injured. So now that might slow down productivity in the car manufacturing. And then, they've advanced it, 8 years later, they, put all robots in that could do majority of the work. There's still some humans that still need to do some of the work. How can we, us technology people, because I'm in technology too, and you're in technology, comfort people, I want to say the word comfort, or humans, to say, hey, it'll make your job easier, but yes, it will eliminate physical human jobs, but it's an opportunity for that person in that company to go, hey, you need to think of this way of, I should learn how to work these machines instead of fighting against it, right? So how can we let people know? Surprisingly, I keep saying this, I'm still mind blowing, like how many people listen to my podcast. How can we comfort the people that are not in technology or listening to us to say, hey, it's okay. This is an opportunity for you to learn something else. So how can we channel that to people, especially if in your role as, you're a CEO of a technology company? It's like, hey, my business grows, I'm going to need people, right? So how can we get past people being comfortable and make that change?
Yeah, so there are three types of people: people that are early adopters, the followers, and the laggers. So if you are an early adopter of the technology, you would have enormous amount of opportunities in front of you. Like you see, okay, there is no shortage of opportunity that can be solved through technology. It's like every day that I'm talking with like my fellow entrepreneurs and people in the industry, there's always more exciting things that are happening. So it's like, okay, I need like 20 people to do this project with me, and then that 20 people, 200 more ideas coming. So for the early adopters, there is like, okay, always progress, always excitement and enthusiasm to find those challenges that can be solved through these technologies. And followers would be coming in. So once somebody sees that, okay, I'm Uber has been succeeded, then there are like hundreds of Ubers coming up all over the place, and then there are like Uber of India, Uber of Argentina, Uber. So there are like copycats of Uber popping up everywhere. But then the next level, people are like, okay, I'm gonna create like Uber of let's say, or maybe like a Airbnb of churches. I'm gonna create like Airbnb of retail spaces. So it's going to be like enormous amount of opportunities that will pop up after the first generation. But then for the laggers, I think we have to adopt once the circumstances change. If you want to oppose that technology, at some point the cost for your operation would be too high, whether you are a small business or a large one, that the ones that adopted technologies faster, they would capture your market. So this is like a game that for winning you have to have leverage. If that leverage is to capital, or that leverage is through your other resources that you have, at some point your leverage would be exhausted, and at that point you would be irrelevant. So either you change or the board will take care of your business. I mean,
Yeah.
This is not something that we can sugarcoat it.
Yeah. I think like the world's gonna change. You got to come along with it. If you don't come along with it, you're just gonna be left with old technology, and that's the challenge with the older generation these days. Well, I'm old, but yeah, I still like technology. But a lot of them are like, I'm used to just picking up my home phone. I don't want a cell phone. And it's like, well, we need to find you because you're much older and all this other stuff. And there's technology. And it's just massaging that technology to them slowly. That's why I use the word massage, because when you get a massage, you want to sit there forever. And they slowly adopt it. And that's the challenge. I love those three things you talked about. I like the early adopter. I just had that in my notes to talk about, but you just touched on it. That was pretty awesome. I like your idea about like your Airbnb churches. I was like, that might be a possibility also, because a lot of churches don't use their spaces a lot.
Yeah.
And that, you know what, you're a CEO, you might want to come up with that. Yeah, and I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, and I want to talk about your company and guacamole. And I want to give a little background here, how I know Niem. And I met him at the CES in Las Vegas. When he showed me his product, I was like, wow, this is exciting. I wasn't that stage of that early adopter, but I wasn't that lagger either. But it's kind of in between. I forgot, what was your second one again? You said
Second what?
Your second one, I think, was followers.
Oh yeah. So,
followers.
Just followers and like.
Yeah. So I'm like, what kind of that follower, want to be that early adopter, but I'm like, hold on. I looked at our business model and I was like, maybe not yet. Right. So tell me that journey of your product now and where it is today. It was only January I met you. And I thought it was like, this is great technology, and tell people where you're at today with it. But how'd you come up with it? And how did it just pick up speed and just keeps going on? Because it picked up speed, a lot of speed. I'm going to let people know that right now. So go for it, Niem.
Yeah. So guacamole is a combination or a series of products that one of them is called Guacamole ID, which is our basically most common product that we are selling. So Guacamole ID is like your Face ID that you have in your iPhone, but with two advantages. So Face ID is a good technology. We all know that passwords are weak. People are using the same password across multiple platforms, and that creates vulnerabilities for the companies. Many people are using like their dog's name, their cat's name, their date of birth for their password. And the bad guys know this fact. So they are using this against us. And I'm personally victim, or I'm guilty of this.
Yep.
I've used my password, the same password.
I'm raising my hand too.
we all do that. So
yes.
At some point, I started receiving emails that, okay, your password has been detected here and there, and that's scary. So
yeah,
imagine that your password is now in dark web, and everyone can go to your bank account, email, and do a lot of things. So this is a big source of problem for companies. Companies are spending a lot of money on cybersecurity, and yet we see that the number of cyber attacks and not only their frequency, but also their size has been gone worse every day. So
yeah.
It's not a company that's safe from this type of attacks. And part of that problem is passwords. So we knew that we need better authentication tools. Multi-factor authentication is common, it's popular every day, but it's not user-friendly. And employees are way against that. Like, they don't want to go like 15 minutes every time that they go log into their device, they have to go through multi-factor authentication.
Yeah, they have to go to their phone, literally, if people are listening, I'm holding my phone. You log in, and then you have to go to an app to unlock what you're doing on your computer. That's a pain point for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
And imagine you are like a bank teller. So you're a bank teller, you are in front of the computer. Anytime that you leave in front of your station, you have to log off and then go and come back and do login, the process over and over again.
Yeah.
So this is taking a lot of time for employees. At the same time, decreases the productivity of the whole team. So we found out that, okay, in this generation, that we have all these technologies around us. Every one of us have webcam, every one of us have camera, every one of us has a supercomputer in front of us, whether in our hand or in the computer, very strong CPUs. So we have to use these resources in order to create and invent something that is useful for us to solve this pain point for everyone. So for authentication, Face ID is a good technology. We all love it. We use it in our iPhones, but it has two shortcomings. One, it's only available in certain devices, like only iPhones. So you don't see that in other MacBook products or other brands. And number two shortcoming is that it's only protecting you for logging to the device. But after that, you are not protected. So what happens if somebody grabs your phone and run away, which happened to my brother-in-law, and the person gained access to all his contacts, emails, and the confidential information that he had in his phone. Or let's say you are working in a crowded environment and somebody is shoulder surfing and see what you are working on. So we are not protected against these incidents. So we created Guacamole ID. We are solving these two shortcomings. Basically, it's a Face ID that works in every device. So you don't require any expensive or any special cameras to have the benefits of Face ID. And now you can use your regular computer in order to have the benefits of Face ID. But number two, which is more important, is continuous Face ID. So anytime that you are in front of the computer, you are the authorized person, you can use the computer. But as soon as somebody that is not authorized appears in your background, or you just go out and then come back, if you are the right person, the system will be open for you. If you are not the right person, the computer will be blurred and doesn't allow the confidential information to be leaked out. So with this simple solution, we are solving a big problem for the companies, which is all these cyber threats that are happening now. So this was an innovation, an invention. Something like this hasn't been existed before, and still we are new. Nothing like this is existent in the market, and that brings the second part of your question: that what's the feedback from the community, from the companies? Yeah. So at the beginning, when they saw this type of solution, they were like, okay, wow, what is this? So how can I use this? But at the same time, again, early adopters, followers, and laggers. So we are seeing every day that, okay, early adopters are bringing, they love this type of technology, so they want to bring that into their companies. And now we are in the phase that the followers are jumping in. So there are the people that have seen that, okay, early adopters have used it, they loved it. And now the followers, that's the followers phase. And hopefully we are reaching to the phase that we can bring the laggers also into using these products.
So what industry are you touching right now? Because I'm just thinking, thinking about law enforcement. Mm-hmm. When they have their computers in their car, they have to log in. But it'd be a lot faster if they just open it up, look into it, they could work on it. And then when they have to go out of their car and like give a ticket or chase someone, as soon as their face goes away, at least that computer, because I remember watching your technology work, that computer just, boom, it just goes to sleep or whatever it did. I forgot what it did, but it pretty much just locked itself, period, until that face came back.
Absolutely. So we are doing automizing that part. We don't want the cop to log off the computer because you are seeing an emergency. You cannot sit and log off the computer and then go on. You want to go and take care of the person that or the situation that in front of you. So we take care of that. Once you are not there as the cop, the screen will be blurred and blacked out, so nobody can see that information. If somebody jumps in while the computer is unlocked and we detect an unauthorized face, we block the screen so that they cannot gain access to the confidential information that the cop has access to, such as FBI's CGIS, Criminal Justice Information System information, And then as soon as they jump, they come back to the vehicle, we see the friendly face, we open the screen for them so that they cannot, they can go easily work with the computer and they don't need to go over repetitive multi-factor authentications.
I just thought about this, but the challenge would be, because is there a way, I know you do it in the hospitals, you have your product in the hospital and it works great, just for law enforcement, because sometimes they're driving and they're trying to look at something while they're, heading to their emergency. Do they, if can that computer, once they take away and they have to look on the road, well, that's kind of a smart idea, look away from the road, because they, they're trying to look at the computer because they're trying to see what's going on, whatever, criminal record or whatever it is, or emergency they're trying to view on the monitor, and then they're trying to drive at the same time. That could be a safety hazard. I was thinking, like, could it still be active if it catches half their face, or it just turns off because of safety reasons? I would say just turn it off because of safety reasons, but what's your opinion?
Yeah, so once the cup is there, so let's say the computer is over here and we see like half of the face, the screen will be available for them. So we don't want to black out the screen while we know that the friendly face is over there. But if they have a subject in the background that is trying to see those confidential information, then we will blur the screen.
Okay.
So if the right person is there, we don't want to black out the screen because we know that they want to, maybe like for a second they look at the screen, so we don't want them to need to press any key in order to see that screen. But the only situation that we black out is either the cop is not there or anybody in the background is trying to do shoulders.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering about that because this might be a safety issue. But with your with that ID, do you have any other products that you're actually like in trial right now, by chance?
Yeah, we also have another product in the pipeline that is using the same methodology, because one of the beauties of this system is that the same as Face ID, it's privacy first. We really like Apple's approach in protecting the privacy of their customers, and I think that between the tech companies, Apple is doing the best job in terms of protecting the privacy of the users. So we follow the same lead of the Apple in our technology. It's privacy first. All of the biometrics are encrypted and stored in the device so that nobody else can have access to that. So it's for security, privacy, and back to the question. So we have another product called Guacamole Access, which is the same methodology, using your face for opening the doors for you, or gaining access to the restricted areas. And the difference with the current solutions that are in the market, such as like your CAC card, is that with the old technology, if somebody is stealing your access card, they can gain access to the facility. But with this technology, your face is your passcode. So even if they have your card or they have your passcode, they cannot gain access to the facility. There are some solutions that are using your face for access to the buildings, but they rely on cloud, which in this case, the data should travel to the cloud and come back, which is slow because there is always the bandwidth issues. They need internet. We don't require internet because all the processing is happening locally in the device. Our solution is cheaper because you don't need, because we made it so agile and small that it doesn't require that much of a computation power in order to do the processing. And most importantly, no data is traveling outside. So it's privacy first. So nobody else that have access to your cloud resources, for example, in the case of like more critical scenarios. So let's say you are working in a hospital in an operating room. So there's patient over there and there's like medical information involved. So in this case, we don't send the data anywhere to be HIPAA compliant.
You made me think. So your product only goes on the local device, but the nice thing is it's because majority of Apple is a consumer way of doing it. You're doing more of an enterprise way of doing it, which is really cool. I was just thinking in a way where your product, maybe it goes to the cloud or goes to a local server in an amusement park. Here's an idea for you. Goes to an amusement park. Instead of people who are season pass holders, like instead of showing their pass, they just walk into a gate. It recognizes their face so fast that it goes, oh, that's the season pass holder, go in. And then if it doesn't, it just red flags and it'll just alert an attendant there going, oh, that person's not a season pass holder. And you need to go to the gate. Anyway, you're going to say something. Go for it.
Absolutely. So Glenn, that's a very, very good and smart idea. Remember at the beginning of the conversation, I said, we need more entrepreneurs next to us that we can handle all of these opportunities, because at the end of the day, we have developed the technology, but there are so many ways that these technologies can be applied in different scenarios that we really need like entrepreneurs like you. You had a great idea. This is a problem solving, because not only for amusement parks, but imagine for hospitals. Imagine for even for like airports, any facility that you see out there, we have like security guards that are manually checking people. Now with the use of technology, we can replace and use this type of technologies in order to facilitate the job. But for us, with limited resources, we are now focused on just this specific market. But if there are people like you or other entrepreneurs that come up with these ideas, we can of course work with them. We can provide the technology to them to solve some of the problems that we are seeing now. Because at the end of the day, there is no shortage of opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities for early adopters in front of us, people that want to bring these type of technologies into the market.
All right, I might have to cut that one part out. I don't want anyone amusement park people stealing my idea, and then all of a sudden it just shows up somewhere.
This is a great idea. Imagine stadiums.
Yeah,
right? 100,000
ticket
people
holder
go to a stadium, right?
Yeah, well, season passers, but a lot of people, there's a lot more like single buyer, single day people rather than, well, maybe they're like privacy issue, like people, the laggers. They might go, oh, I don't want like the ticket has an opportunity. You don't have to hold the ticket. You stand in front of your camera of your phone or whatever. It'll take a picture, it'll recognize you, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, laggers like, no, not going to happen, because they don't trust the system, especially with the dark web. And that's the challenge. And how secure can that be? I've been to so many security conferences, but it's more of a reactive instead of a proactive solution when they mostly give. And yours is more of a proactive solution because it's local. It cuts off when it needs to cut off, right? Because it's not going to the cloud or anything else. So great technology. I'm excited for it. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. And one of the things that you mentioned is also very interesting. So in terms of laggers, there are still people that they're not using, let's say, the feature of Face ID on their phone. So they prefer to do like manually have the passcode every time.
Yeah.
So Apple, again, as a good example, so they gave the option, if you don't want to use this service, you can use the other service. So option A, option B.
Yes.
But let's say for the example of bank teller, you are a bank teller that don't want to use this technology. Okay. But every time you have to do like every day you have to spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your time in just multi-factor authentication. So you have that option, go for it. But if you want convenience, then you use the technology.
Just thinking about it, where I remember back in mid 2000s, early 2000s, actually, when we used to create reports at one company, it took us almost like a week. And then when technology evolved, we were finally to get reports done like in 4 hours, and we get it every morning to get our morning sales report. In technology today, are we looking at making the human experience and reducing it from hours to minutes to seconds? Is that what we're trying to do these days? Because I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah, that's true. So you mentioned a good example. I'm going to share some other stories. So before this, I had a digital media company. So being a publisher in the media space, you have to publish a lot of articles. So what we used to do back in like 2011, 2012 was that we were writing articles and then we had like editors. So like somebody that goes into grammars and check everything is right or not. So we had to send the article to that person. She was like reviewing those articles, sending it back to us. So this process was taking like a couple of days between the time that you are writing the article until it's being published. In just 10 years or less, now you have Grammarly and a lot of other resources.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, in a few seconds you have the answer. So
yeah,
does it mean that those like editors or those people that are using as like content curators has gone out of the business? No, they are doing something else now. But the technology helped us and them to like make the amount of time that you need to create those type of content way less, from hours and days into minutes and seconds. So that's the flow of technology.
Yeah, I think so. I think the flow of technology is just going to get faster and better. And look at, as like you were talking about in your middle school days about keeping your car in your lane and, you know, self-driving cars and everything else. And I like the way people are marketing now because it's more of a safety issue. We'll have less collisions rather, you know, than, you know, collisions that we currently have, because there is a human still behind the car, could still make a human decision if need to, if the AI cannot understand, but it's going to get there. And I feel like it's going to get there pretty quick. So let me ask you about the adopters that need to adapt. When you're introducing your product to a company that you see they have potential to use it, do they fall in those certain categories of like, oh gosh, I'm not ready, or yeah, I want to be an early adopter? What's their mindset when you gauge them, that feeling in that room? What's it like? So some people, like you're a CEO, and they're people are just wondering right now, like, oh, well, if he's a CEO, what's it like to be in that room when you're trying to, you know, introduce your product to someone? And tell me that experience.
Yeah, so we were having an interesting journey, because you also asked about like how we ended up creating this product in the previous question. So initially we created another product completely different. So it was for solving another problem that we solved, which was basically enforcing clean desk policy in banks and call centers to make sure that the employees are not taking the picture of the screen, for example, social security number, or write down the sensitive information of the clients that are calling them. So that product, we found out that this product is still too advanced for the society to get adoption. Because in product design, we have a concept called Maya, which is like create the most advanced yet acceptable product. Sometimes you create a product that is too advanced for the society to adopt it. Examples are, for example, there were people that created like the same phones or same concept as iPhone and iPad earlier than Apple, but they were too advanced for this type of products. So we learned our lesson. We were talking with like call centers, banks, that these products exist, but even though they knew that this product has a great return on investment and also is protecting their customers' information, but we found out that they are afraid of, for example, unions. That, for example, if would the employees object this type of technology? So they didn't roll out this solution, even though it was a problem that theoretically was solving a big pain point for them, but there was always that objection of enforcing this product to the market. So for a few times we went into the whiteboard, we were redesigning the product until it took us probably 6 to 9 months in order to see that, okay, just vertical of our capabilities is enough for the market. So we don't need to go and go for like the whole picture, whole solution, but just one part of the solution, which is not the guacamole ID, would be something that people would easily adopt it. And it's convenient, it's secure, so everyone would be open to that. So back to this question, it's always trying to understand what the other parties want. So we don't go to the meeting and say, oh, this is a solution, you have to buy it. We would try to understand what are the pain points that people have and how the technology can help them, and then see what are the changes that we can do on the product that specifically is making the product tailor-made for that specific company. Because all of the companies are having different demands, different ecosystem. So something that works in company A might not work for the same company in the same vector, same industry. So you have to always be prepared to adjust the product based on the customer's needs.
Yeah. So if anyone wants Niam's product, Guacamole, as Hummingbirds AI, his information will be in the description, or I'll pop it up somewhere. Somewhere. We'll pop it up somewhere down here, probably. I don't know. It'll pop up. So but in the podcast, I'll let Niam talk about, the website and everything else. So we're almost at time here. And one question I do want to ask you is, if you're able to travel back in time and able to talk to your 10-year-old self, what would you tell your 10-year-old Niam?
I would say always be curious, always be have that like exploration in front of you in your self, to always challenge and see how you can do things differently. So I would say don't settle for anything. Don't settle for no. Don't settle for people that say, okay, that's enough. Like, this is good enough. Try to create something that is better. So never settle for anything that the society says this is right for you. You have to be this. Try to challenge everyone and yourself to create something better.
Yeah, I would say that too. It's not only just challenge, but the people who shoot you down or say that's not going to work, that's a challenge for you to make it work. And the successful thing that Niam and I go through, and what we go through, is we're okay failing. And all we do is, okay, where do we fail? How can we improve on it? Or what can we do? Right? There's always the word called redesign. So we're always back on the whiteboard, figuring out, okay, what went wrong and what can we do to make it better? Or not fix it, but make it better. So we'll eliminate that one problem we had before. And a lot of entrepreneurs or like Niam's the CEO and entrepreneur also, where it doesn't hold them back, doesn't hold anyone back. And that's where Niam's today, and that's why he's being successful. I mean, I've seen majority of your awards and everything you've been winning in technology. I kind of looked you up on Google, and you've won so many things. Amazing. Give you props for that, for doing all that. And you're a forward thinker, and we need a lot more of those in the world today. And for all the kids are growing up, like the 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds who are just in middle school, need to be like Niam, like always forward thinking, when challenge the status quo, when, even though it seems oddball, but in the future, it's gonna work. So, but there's some things in there where it may not work, but you know what? At least you gave it a try, right? So with that said, here's your chance to talk about your company and where people could find you. Well, not find you, but more like, your company's website and all that stuff, where they could contact you. So go right ahead.
So at Hummingbird AI, our mission is to create a safer world through the use of technologies, as you mentioned, specifically AI. And we know that there are a lot of problems in terms of safety and security in the world that can be solved through these type of technologies. So we have one saying that I always repeat it at the end of the conversations. Our goal is to bring guacamole to every computer on the planet. Every computer has chips. It's time for guacamole. So that being said, guacamole is around you. Every time that you see a guacamole, remember guacamole from Hummingbird AI.
And I like your shirt. Holy moly, guacamole.
Yes.
I like that. And I do like guacamole. So
You do.
yeah, I love it. So Nima, thank you very much for being on my podcast. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you so much.
what's that again? I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much, Glenn. So I just want to add something that once we met earlier at the beginning of this year in CES, I was impressed with your positive energy towards like new technologies. And thanks again for bringing me to this podcast, because I'm very much excited about your podcast. I know that there are a lot of exciting things that are happening in technology that you are covering. So your vision and also being open and flexible into all sorts of different ideas, bringing them into this podcast makes it very interesting for all of us. So thanks for what you are doing, and thanks for having me here.
No. I mean, thank you for being here. You're an amazing human, and you're great what you do. So everybody, I'll have Niam's information below about his company, Hummingbird AI, and also be kind and be human. All right, everybody, take care. See ya. Bye.
Thank you.